Bob and Weave with Rob and Steve. Bob and Weave with Rob and Steve. Bob and Weave with Rob and Steve. Bob and Weave with Rob and Steve.
Nice, dude.
Do you
That
know
was dope.
Do you know what song I stole that from?
No.
Only my mom's gonna see this, so it's fine. It's Ass Titties.
Yes. I knew I recognized that from somewhere. I haven't heard it since 11th grade, but yes, I know that song. Okay. Dude, super funny. Me and Elena hopped in the car today, and I don't know, I mentioned like, oh, that's an annoying song, blah, 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 blah. So she's like, oh, I have the perfect playlist for you. She starts this playlist in Spotify. And it's like just horrible song after horrible song. I'm like, what is this, dude? I'm like cracking up. And she's like, oh, this is the playlist. It's called Worst Songs Ever. It had like 1 million subscribers.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man. Yeah, it had some bad stuff on it. Cotton Eye Joe, some other shit. But yeah.
Cotton Eye Joe's up there.
Well, how goes it, Stu? This is Friday of Memorial Day weekend, 3-day weekend, first one since Christmas, I think, or January maybe, President's Day or something. But you excited for the weekend?
It's my dad's birthday today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're going up to Lake Arrowhead. See him this weekend.
Nice. You guys gonna have some Coors Lights and celebrations?
I guess we will see what happens, but that is whatever Dad wants to do. We're gonna do that.
Right on. Right on. Well, good deal. Yeah, we've got a party to go to, like a friend's graduation party from like grad school or something she did. And first 2 p.m. party in a while that I've been to. So we're bringing the kid, see how that goes.
It sounds like a first birthday time.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like 32, so we'll see how wild of a graduation party it is.
Gotcha. That's fun. Is it graduation from college, right? Like, or master's?
Some program. Yeah, some program. I'm honestly not even sure. Something in like occupational therapy or something like that. A career, kind of like a later career change for her.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah, she's been studying hard for like 2 years, never going out and stuff. And it's one of our buddies here in Boise, is his girlfriend. So we've had a lot of guy time with him the last couple of years, but
it's going away.
But yeah, now we got to share him with her.
Well, sorry to hear that.
Well, cool, man.
Good for him.
Yeah, my condolences. Yeah.
All right, man. So
your video was very delayed, but
yeah. Is my voice okay?
Yeah, go for it. It's kind of delayed too, I think, because we keep talking over each other.
I'm trying to clean my computer again. I tried very hard to prepare for this. I went and cleaned all my computer, erased all my cookies and stuff. And as soon as I hit record, here we are.
It's those damn cookies.
Damn cookies. All right, well, hopefully we'll catch up soon. Maybe I'll downgrade to 780p instead of 1080 or 720. Yeah. Maybe that'll help. But first topic on our list, GameStop. This was a big craze a few years ago, and they made a movie about it. Were you involved in the GameStonk? Were you one of the apes?
I invested big at the top. It was awesome.
Yeah, sounds great.
I'm not on Reddit or anything like that. Yeah, I think I tossed like $200 on it, and like basically it went down to 50.
I think I did something similar with $100 because I was way late in the game. Didn't really understand.
Yeah.
But I watched the movie on it, and then There's this guy on TikTok. I think his handle's canceled. His clothing company. His name's Ian. He does a bunch of like breakdowns of like take back what's yours, revolting against the government and all these mega corporations and stuff like that. And so he kind of broke it down into what's going on and why it happened. And even watching the movie, I still didn't fully understand it. It's like when I watched The Big Short. Even though I'm in the mortgage industry, saw The Big Short, I still didn't really get it. And this kind of helped me understanding now that I've kind of accumulated all this knowledge, what's going on and what a short really means. I kind of get what's happening now. So I'll give you my quick 2 or 3 minute synopsis. So what these
Let's do it.
companies, these mega companies would do is they would buy smaller companies that they knew were going to fail. They were already failing, and they would short 100% of the stock. So whatever the stock was, they would short all of it. And then as they would then infiltrate the company, they'd hire their friends into high level management positions and tank the company from the inside out. And as the company was tanking, they've shorted all the stock. They'd make a bunch of money off shorting the stock. Sometimes these companies would even buy this company beforehand, and then they would infiltrate it and go from there. Oh my gosh. Am I back? Am I live?
That's wild. Yeah. You're live.
Oh, wow. I fixed it. I don't know what I did. Oh, I was for a second. Short lived. So anyway, so what short selling is you make a commitment to sell a stock sometime in the future at the current price. That's what shorting is. So say the stock right now is at $100. You say, okay, I'm going to promise I'll sell you this stock at $100. Whether you have the stock or not, you don't buy it. You're basically saying, I will sell it to you. I'm going to buy it sometime in the future. And so what you're planning is that the stock will go down to 90, 80, 50, 0, and then you'll hit purchase the stock at a later date, and you'll instantly sell it to whatever broker you're with, and you'll make a profit based on the difference. But the risk is, if that stock never goes down, it goes up to 200. You sold it to them at 100, and it's now worth 2. You just lost $100. And hypothetically, your potential loss is infinity because that stock could go to the moon and be $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000, and you're out. You had to sell it for $100. That's the risk with it. So what these companies did is that they shorted these stocks. They didn't short just 100% of it. They shorted like 150%, and I've heard even one person say they shorted 500% of what the company stock was. So they're shorting shares that don't even exist. That's kind of like the exposure that these people have. So if the company stays alive or goes above the price at which they promised to short it, they have to pay premiums to keep their short positions intact so that in the future it can still go lower. Because if it goes higher and they sell at the difference, so say they bought it at $20 and they have to, buy it at 50, they lost $30 for every share that they own, and they own like millions of shares. And so that's why everyone's saying that the theory, the plan is to buy these stocks, hold them, never sell them, because if they don't sell them, it will never get to the point where these mega companies will make a profit on it, and they'll have to pay premiums until these mega corporations go extinct, like to keep their short positions alive, because they can't actually close their short positions because they've overbought or oversold how much stock is actually available. So they did this with the anticipation that GameStop is going to go bankrupt. They never have to close it because they've bought more shares. They've promised to sell more shares than are actually in existence. Following all that?
No.
Nice.
Bro, this stuff is so beyond me.
A few moments later.
Cool. And we're back.
We are back.
We're back.
Still back. I'm backer than you are.
We're back, and we're gonna be back until we're not back anymore.
In the back.
In the back. Oh right. Man, backdoor deals.
So far, so good. Think this is working much better. It was definitely my camera sync, so I need a new camera where I don't look like a ghost.
Got some super cool skin tight joggers for $7 from Costco today.
Why?
They're $7. I don't know.
Did you need them? Do you wear joggers a lot?
Yeah. Around the house in the winter. And I was down to like 2 pairs of pants because the rest were just falling apart.
$7
Did I wear
is pretty
sweatpants?
solid.
I just threw away a pair of Champion. You know those Champion mesh shorts that were like super popular when we were in high school?
Yeah.
Like Shitard football always gave them.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, I bought some of those, but they were joggers pants. I bought them for like $4.50 at Kohl's on sale, and I bought them like size extra large. That's just what was there, and I wore huge pants back then. But then like the last 8 years, it's like, oh cool, these are back in style, and I got them tailored to like fit me like tight joggers. And just like 2 weeks ago, I took them out of the wash and folded and put them away. And then like later that day, took them out to put them on. And you know, when like you just like pull shorts on, and it was like that, it was like the last wash of that elastic band.
Yeah.
And they just crack open and are ruined. And I was like, no, like 20-year-old pants, dude. They lasted so long. I just threw them away, and I was like borderline about to host a funeral for them. So yeah.
20 years is a long time. I don't know how old the longest article of clothing I have is. It might be my muumuu.
What's that?
So it's a summer camp thing. It was like we would all go buy stupid shit on our days off. And one time, I think it was at like maybe a Dollar Tree. I think it was a Rite Aid. It was like a drugstore. And then all of a sudden, 2 of my buddies come walking out with these muumuus, which is like a shirt that goes down to your knees. and I just got so much FOMO as soon as I saw them, because I was in the store next door. They walked out with them. Like, oh my God, I just walked directly in the store and bought one. And so we wore muumuus. And it's like this tangerine orange, kind of like a orange sickle type color. And I still have it.
Aren't muumuus like basically aren't they like very large shirts for like large women?
Or old people who don't want to have to worry about pulling down their pants to go to the restroom. Yes.
They just go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Legit. That's
and
hilarious.
mine wasn't quite long enough. Like it didn't go all the way down to my knees. So like I would have to wear like just underwear or like roll my shorts up real high. So it looked like it was a true muumuu.
That's ridiculous. Wear that in public now. Actually, you might not even get looked at in California.
Yeah. I identify as someone who needs a muumuu. Nobody would say shit.
Dude, so funny. Man, your state is about to fall apart, dude. It's just one day there's gonna be rioting or something. It's just gonna fall apart, and it's gonna be like a revolution, and the National Guard's gonna come in there. There's gonna be so many casualties.
So I mean, the thing is, like, that's the stuff that makes the news. But like when I'm out and I'm like talking to people, it's probably 50-50 people who are like, they think like me, or the other 50% are like,
yeah,
agree with this whole crazy stuff.
I have a similar experience, but what in the positions of leadership where it matters, it's the people that like want that shit, and
it makes really great news stories.
Yeah, I mean, dude, when I lived in PB, I didn't live in like a bad area in PB. I lived in North PB. It was a nice area, and multiple times I would wake up early to take the trash cans out because it was like I forgot the night before, and multiple times the same homeless woman was like squatting. She'd moved one of my trash cans to squat between 2 of them to like just shit on my property. And it's just I would catch her peeing, and like the one time I caught her pooping, I like just lost it, dude. And I was like, never come back here.
I thought you were just like, go on, get, and like got a broom and like chased her out.
Poke her with a stick. Yeah. I really had to like yell at the top of my lungs at her at like 7 a.m. It was outrageous. I would pick up her poop with like a dog poop bag
Ugh,
because
that's
there's
terrible.
yeah,
I
I
remember.
didn't know whose it was. I thought it was a dog or something, so I was
Yeah,
picking it up, and then like one day I caught her actually pooping. I was like, I thought you were just peeing over here, but you're actually taking these tiny dog-sized turds.
got to go somewhere. When I was
God,
in Minnesota, that was my favorite thing about Minneapolis. I was like, where are all the homeless people? I thought all
yeah.
downtown metropolitan areas had homeless people, and there's none here. Like, how'd they do
Did
that?
Did you know that Boise actually has identified all the homeless people here? And I've actually saw, I don't know where to find it now, but I saw a list of them like with their name.
Wow.
They've you know how many
I'm gonna go with 200,000.
homeless people in Boise?
Oh, just in Boise,
Yeah,
1,000.
58.
What?
Yeah, we have 58 homeless people. So we have like two homeless shelters or like halfway houses and stuff like that. You know, two or three halfway houses. We have hundreds of units of low income housing. But when it comes to like homeless shelter, we have two of them and they have like 60 beds and they're worried about capacity. But it's like, dude, we have 58. Like, if the policies work, you shouldn't need to add beds.
Yeah. I remember seeing somewhere that Gavin Newsom, like since he got elected, has spent $22 billion to solve
Mm-hmm.
homelessness, and
Mm-hmm.
it's gone from like 22,000 to like 200,000, something like that. It was like
Yeah,
20x or something since he's been in office, and he spent $22 billion on it.
Yeah, and there's hearings going on about. They might have completed them this week, but there were hearings earlier this week about that, and they were like the is it Congress? I don't know. The state was grilling the people that run a lot of those programs, asking them where was the money spent. They did no financial reporting, and they didn't actually do anything with those funds themselves. They were giving it to nonprofits to,
Right.
but they
Yeah, they
didn't.
were sponsoring nonprofits to help solve the issue, and then the nonprofits weren't held accountable for doing anything, right?
Yeah, they didn't track what the money went to. That 22 billion was just given to nonprofits and not tracked by anyone. So that money's just fucking gone, and no one was held accountable at all. So, of course, you know,
I remember doing a loan for these people up in Hollywood, and what they would do, their entire job was they would host 2 events a year for like the very elites, and they would raise money for some fake 503c that they created, and then they would pay themselves each $400,000 out of that 503c to host these elaborate parties.
yeah,
It was like, I don't know if it was for homelessness, but it was some, nonprofit organization. And I was like, that was their entire life. That's what they did. They hosted 2 parties every year, had a bunch of donations, and they made almost $500,000.
yeah, and
It's
all those
ridiculous.
donations are tax deductible. So there are, obvious benefits to the people donating that money as
And
well.
yeah, and I talked to these people, and they thought that they were doing a good thing. They thought, we need this money to live. This is just how much you need to afford to live in Los Angeles, Hollywood area, and so that's what we take, and then the rest goes to hosting these events.
Wow, 800K a year,
Yeah.
incredible.
On the topic, somebody challenged me on Palestine. I saw a couple of videos on it. Saw these like
Mm-hmm.
college sit-ins, and so my understanding was that it's pretty unknown about who's in the right and who's in the wrong. Is it Israel? Is it Palestine? Like what's going on? I was like, okay, I'm sure there's information out there to get me most of the way there. I'm sure I'm never gonna know 100%. I'm probably never gonna know 80%. But I went and I found out as much like actual news reporting fact stuff that I could. And so here's what I found out. It was boggling. So uh Gaza is surrounded by Israel and Egypt and an ocean. So you can't leave anywhere outside of there. It's supposedly part of Palestine, which is not recognized by the US or the UK, only certain other countries. So it's like a state that's governed and people live there, but it's not like a country. And Israel has allowed Palestine to be there and say, sure, go have your own thing, do whatever you want, just leave us alone. And so Gaza is like, as if Oklahoma was a part of Mexico, kind of the way it is. Doesn't make any sense. Why is it there? Not attached to everything else. And so in the 80s, a new political leadership took over Gaza called Hamas. And in like their mission statement, it said, we want to rid the world of Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, the purpose of the organization was to rid the world of Jews. And obviously they've removed it since then. I think it was in 2017 they removed it. But like the 80s is not that long ago. We were both alive. And now they've been attacking Israel because that's, even though it's not in their mission statement, it's still like what a lot of them believe that they should be doing is attacking Israel and getting rid of all of the Jews. And so in October of last year, they attacked a music festival and killed 1,200 people. Like suicide bombers went in there, unexpected, street clothing, not like a war activity, just killed 1,200 innocent people, like kids going to EDC. And so Israel was like, all right, fuck this. You guys are done. Like, we're not doing this anymore. And this was not the first time they had attacked them. I think it was like the 5th or 6th. And so now they're just like, okay, Hamas rules all of Gaza. That is the political organization that people have voted for. And that's what they believe in, is if like a one-party system. So if we didn't have Republicans, Democrats, we just said one thing, that's what runs Gaza and most of other Palestine. And there's been other countries, like I think it was Iraq, has funded Hamas for a lot of their organizational tactics. And so most of the stuff, the way they get missiles and guns, and they built these tunnels to kind of go back and forth in Israel secretly, has been from international funds from places like Iraq. And so now that they had that attack in October, now Israel is just like, this is done. We're getting rid of all of you. Like, and there was a news reporter who like was interviewing kids at a school in Gaza, and they were saying, well, yeah, we have to get rid of the Jews because that's what we're supposed to do. That's why we were put here, to rid the world of the Jews. And this is like a 7-year-old saying this. And now people are saying, and whether or not Israel's overreacting and, committing genocide and trying to kill every single one of the persons who lives there or believes in this and whatever, I'm not sure if that's true. Maybe that is their goal. But if you've been attacked nonstop by these people, suicide bombings, and they're right next door and you can't get rid of them, what else are you supposed to do? And again, I don't know if this is correct, if it's all factual, or if they're supposed to be doing this, or if they're just deciding it because it's a good, political play for them. But the fact that, these kids are sitting in college campuses saying anti-Israel and pro-Palestine when literally the government that's ruling Palestine is anti-Semitic and actively committing, suicide bombs against Jews is just bizarre.
Yeah. It's super bizarre. And I relate it to the Capulets and Montagues from Romeo and Juliet. Like their family feud goes back so many generations that the current ones don't even know why they originally hated each other. I feel like a lot of it's about that. Like I tend to be conservative side, but I wanted to see more than just what Fox News is saying. And so I went on YouTube because I thought maybe they'd show kind of both sides. And there are videos on both sides. And it's so wild, the varying information you get. Like I watched a few videos that were like 15, 20 minutes. I searched history of the unrest in Israel, Palestine, or something like that. And this goes back like hundreds and hundreds of years. And like one video was saying, hey, these, the Palestinians occupy Gaza right now, and then several other areas in kind of like northeast Israel. And they've just constantly been attacking Israel, but Israel has like allowed, aid to come in, like food and water and stuff. And they'd like obviously have to have checkpoints because that's how guns are smuggled in. And it paints Israel as this like, hey, we keep trying to help you, but you keep attacking us. So we need to end Hamas and not hurt your people. But Hamas has, built all these underground tunnels under the main city in Gaza. And that way they can use civilians as human shields, but then continue, throwing grenades or, suicide bombers over the fence at Israel. And then there are videos that talk about, basically Israel came in and like kicked us all out of our homes, took our property, and made us move to Gaza. They had given us, some areas in the Northeast, they've kicked us out of there too and are sending us to Gaza. They even put a wall up so that they can control all the electricity that comes in. And we have 8 to 10 hour blackouts every day. They've stopped sending water. They don't let us fish in our ocean except for like 1 mile offshore where there's no big fish to catch. And like, Israel is this evil. They're trying to basically starve them out of the area and make them go to other countries so they can take the land. And Israel even has settlements inside Gaza. Gaza is only 25 miles tall and like 5 miles wide. And there's like 4 million people or whatever that live in that main city. I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but, it's the most densely populated city in the world. And they're getting no water, no supplies. They don't have access to sewer because Israel's like capping how many construction materials can enter the checkpoint. And like it's like a blockade, where you basically starve them out, or a siege, so it's like, I don't know what to believe. And it seems like it just goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, and they both like are laying claim to this land, and they both have books that state they're the rightful owner of that holy land. And it's like, to me, it's like, dude, the only peaceful resolution to this is to like just split it in half, you know, and just make two countries again.
Well, isn't that kind of what they did, where Israel said like, "Hey, you Palestine, you can live over here, and that'll be good." Like it's not just the Gaza Strip they gave them. There's, like you mentioned, the whole section of the Northeast. You guys can live there, and we'll live peacefully if you stop attacking us.
Yeah, and the two videos that like the two types of videos I'm talking about too, like one of them painted that as like Israel was generous and made a fair agreement, but then the other side video was saying, Israel strong armed us into that and then took it away anyway, and not to mention that the land they gave us was the most infertile land in the area that was unwanted by anyone. And they took all the best lands for themselves, the best, most fertile soils for agriculture. Um, so it's kind of like, which one is it? But I don't think there's just like going to be a peaceful resolution where everyone's happy. There's either going to be a war and one's going to wipe out the other, or some other bigger powers or NATO or something is going to come in and settle it for them and split it right down the middle as like a unbiased third party,
like a Berlin thing.
Yeah.
So one other thing that you kind of mentioned, so like if you're in Gaza and you don't believe in all this stuff and you try and leave, where can you go? And then in a couple articles I read, they mentioned how none of the surrounding countries will accept someone who's from Gaza as a refugee. Like all of the countries surrounding it are just like, no, if you're from Gaza, we know who you people are. You can't come here. And that's also a strange thing to me, because if it was really, fighting against the evil power of Israel, then other countries would be impartial to it and say, sure, you can come here, or accept, refugees from either side. But somehow these people are trapped in Gaza, can't get the resources they need. They're not allowed to leave because there's no countries that will accept them as refugees. Like, there's just a lot of signs pointing towards, these people want violence and they're not accepted in a lot of other places.
Yeah. And I think you're totally right. And 4 million, I mean, where do you even distribute those, And I think both sides agree that there's Hamas, there's the extremists that say they're Hamas, and then 99.9% of the population that's just like, we don't want war. And those are the people that, the pro-Palestine people in America at the universities and stuff, that's the ones that they're kind of trying to protect.
But I mean, I feel like it can't be 99.9, otherwise it wouldn't be such an issue. Because think about like, Catholic extremists.
Yeah.
If there's not like 1% or 0.01% of them who are Catholic extremists, and it causes this big issue. Like, in order for it to become an international issue, it would have to be, at least 20% of the people who are part of Hamas that think this way.
Yeah, that's true. But sometimes that's a very small minority can dominate, like the Catholic Church example you gave. I mean, how little accountability was there for the massive level of abuse and illegal stuff that went on for decades in that church. I mean, it's like swept under. It's like not some. People joke about it now. Like comics bring it up. Like, oh, I'd rather spend an evening alone with my priest. Ha ha ha. um, but like, I don't know. They're still just in power, and when that should have just been any other. If PepsiCo did that, they would just be shut down.
Right. Like, was it Papa John references the N-word on a board meeting, and he's fired the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Well,
but yeah,
we're not going to solve it here. I'm sure of that.
I don't know, man. Obama's probably listening. Said Barack. No, I don't know. Yeah, we're definitely we're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna solve much here at all, man.
You, me, and our listener.
Yeah. What up, Miss T? Love you.
Yeah. Well, okay. I think I'll end this with: I am 100% anti-war. I wish that they could find a way to solve this peacefully, but it seems like if Hamas keeps doing these suicide bombings and actively attacking Israel, they have to react. And whether they're reacting too much or doing way too much is up for interpretation.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's going to just escalate, and Israel has the capability to just decimate them, but it would be at the expense of upwards of 1 million, 2 million lives, civilian lives. And I mean that's kind of how the U.S. ended World War II. I always mix these up. World War One, I think, right? Two was just dropping a bomb on 2 cities. I mean,
yep.
Obviously that wasn't the right thing to do, but unfortunately, in these kinds of wars, it's like that's the only thing that freaking people listen to. Yeah, I hope it doesn't come to that.
Have you seen that video on TikTok? The guy describing what happened and for World War II and like the U.S. reacting to Pearl Harbor.
No.
One, it's hilarious, his interpretation of it. But like the one thing that gets stuck in my head is so he's talking about how Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, and like the thought was that the US would not be able to retaliate for like 6 months or something because we're not actively in this war. We're not going to attack Japan. And then his interpretation of, ooh, I can't wait. That's what I've been waiting for. Here we go. And like in 2 months, we were out and bombing Japan, and everyone's just like, what the hell? Like, how did they do that?
Yeah. Just had it ready to go. That's
I gotta
nuts.
see that video. It's a good one.
Yeah, please do. I'd love to see that. Yeah, that pilot too. Like he thought it was a kamikaze mission because he didn't know if when he dropped it if he would get out of the blast zone. Mm-hmm. And he cleared it by a long shot. But I mean, he thought, hey, this might be the end of me too. Kind of like at the end of Independence Day when Uncle Randy or whatever goes up into the alien spaceship.
Oh yeah, that's right. Forgot. I was like, what is he gonna say right now? Because I haven't seen that movie in 20 years or something.
We will not go quietly into the night. I love how he says it will no longer be July 4th. It'll be Independence Day. And it's like, dude, it already is. Oh man. Hey, I just thought of something random that I forgot to mention to you beforehand.
Yeah.
Just a quick update. I found out last week that the building that Strive is in was listed for sale at
Oh yeah.
it was listed even lower than what we had kind of made an offer on like 6 months ago on an owner carry that they didn't accept. So it's listed even lower. So we just made an offer the other day, even an LOI, even lower than that. And they accepted our LOI. So I'm expecting to be in
Oh,
contract on that soon.
congrats. That's pretty exciting.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Just got to find like $20,000 to $30,000 of earnest money by next Friday. And then somebody to close the deal, 2.7 million.
So you mean a lender?
I don't think so. I don't think our LLC is not lendable yet because it's only 11 months old.
Okay. So
Most times,
what are you trying to do? Get a hard money something?
I'm trying to get a 1031, somebody with 1031 money to come in and just buy it in cash, and then we buy it from them with a loan in 3 years.
So you find somebody who's sold another investment and roll that money into yours, and then you would get them to finance it.
Ding, ding, ding.
How would you? You'd have to go to a 1031 company and say, "Hey, who's got money tied up that they can't find anywhere to put it?"
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yep.
know those companies?
Oh no, I've just been reaching out to individuals right now. I just started looking this morning, so I reached out. I got a list of like 20 people I know, and I just reached out to the first 5, and then I'm going to do the next 5, and then the next 5. But
I would call a 10. There's companies. So when you do these 1031s exchange, there's companies that coordinate all this stuff, and so they put their money. It's basically like an escrow company into accounts of them, and then you have whatever 90 days to find a new investment, maybe 120. I don't know.
yeah,
But
120.
sometimes the money gets stuck there, and so it's with the 1031 exchange company. So you could call them and say, "Hey, do you have anybody who needs to find an investment?" And they might be able to get something for you.
I like that idea. I hadn't really heard of that. I'm going to do that as soon as we get off here.
The only 1031 exchange that I've been involved in was something like that, where he had moved the money into the company, and if this one didn't close, he was screwed. You have to pay capital gains tax on all this money.
Yep. That's what we need, because it's not like a 20% return. It's, from what I understand, 6% year one is really good, and 8% is like amazing. And the way we're structuring it is the first year is 6%, second year 7, third year is 8%, and then after 3 years, we cash them out.
I mean,
So
would it be your goal to not cash them out until year 3, or would you have the option to do it early with like a payout?
uh depending on what they'd want. Yeah, I mean, they'd probably want to say, well, what about the earnings I would have made? And maybe we could just cash them out, buy it for a little higher so that they get that money.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically like the way we're offering it is that they get 95% of the cash flow for all 3 years. And then we buy it for 200 grand more than what they bought it for. And they get it.
95% of like the total business cash flow.
Mm-hmm. No, not the business, the building, the rents, right?
Building. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you'll
we're
still
not
get the
selling the
profits
business.
you'll still get the profits from the business, but not extra rents from renting to yourself.
Right. Yeah. So we basically elevate the rents that the daycare would be paying, and the daycare would be taking over new suites as they become available. Their leases expire. Since the GP of the building would own 5% of the building, but be able to control the tenants, we'd have our business Strive Academy move into those suites and kind of let the other tenants out, and we'd basically pay an elevated amount of rent so that the building purchaser is getting a higher return. That's set that 6, 7, and 8%. So the
And
business
how confident are you that your business is not lendable?
it's not SBA lendable. So we'd have to go through like a commercial loan, which would then involve all of our personal assets and stuff a lot more heavily, which we wouldn't qualify. We'd need to bring somebody in for the down payment of 20%, and then they would want half of our business forever, So that one doesn't pencil in the long run. We'd better off just renting.
Yeah.
So
And
it only really works. Yeah.
and hard money. Did you look into hard money at all? Because like I'm doing a lot of hard money stuff with the recent leads I've been getting, and they're pretty flexible. If you have some equity, in the property, and it makes sense, like it's going to cash flow, then they'll likely do it. But they'll do it for like a short term loan, like what you said, like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff I've been getting. It's like gives you time to kind of cash everything out. The one that I'm working on right now is they'll do interest only for 3 years, so it's pure profit those 3 years. It's like 10%, and then after that, it's a balloon payment at the end of year 3.
Yeah. We'd look at that. But then once again, the challenge is the down payment. Who's going to do that? And 11% even interest only, it probably doesn't cash flow positive. So, people are going to be, who are bringing a down payment, are going to be looking for like a 10 to 16% return.
What do you think the value of the property is versus what you're buying it for?
We're probably spot on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's probably pretty. The cost per square foot is exceptional. It's only $229 a square foot, which is really good. Most stuff's trading around like 260, 275. And then ours also has an entirely separate parcel. It's 2 parcels. And that one could be developed as well. So there's some added value there. I wouldn't separate. I don't think the best move would be to actually separate it. I think the best move would be expanding the current building and doing like a 6-story attached addition,
Interesting.
So,
well, sounds fun.
Yeah, let's talk about that one after. Maybe one of your hard money products makes sense.
Yeah, it's really a case by case for them. So it's really, I'd call them with the address and the deal and see if they're willing to take it.
Yeah. Well, cool. There was one other thing we wanted to discuss today. What was it?
Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I haven't watched it yet. I've seen some clips, but can you kind of break down some of the key points or like points of interest?
Yeah, so I can't decide if this guy's full of it or not. He's very well spoken, but some of the stuff that he says is so outlandish. You're like, there's no way that can be true. If it is true, it would change everything. Like
the gravity thing. I saw the gravity thing.
Gravity, DNA, the periodic table. Supposedly he created something that could potentially have time travel done, and he gets patents on everything that he creates. He's created a flying apparatus that would go around like a flying saucer, could fly in 360 dimensions any way it wants to go at any given moment.
Who is this guy? What's his background?
He's an actor.
Really?
He was in Iron Man 1. He didn't do Iron Man 2 because they wouldn't give him enough money. and apparently he's really good at chemical engineering and physics. And the first thing he says on the podcast is that he has a memory from being inside the womb.
Huh.
And he talks about how he remembers his hand was his friend. He had a name for it. Didn't remember what he called it, but he remembered his hand in the womb. And it was really like he would come to consciousness, just kind of be like he was there, and he would like notice things, and then he'd go back to sleep for like months. And he did that for 6 months. And then all of a sudden he said it felt like he was falling. And then he fell and he was out of the womb, which seems ridiculous.
Yeah, like, sounds made up. Right. So this dude's just an actor, or what? Did he go to college for like physics or chemical engineering?
He claims he went to college for chemical engineering or some kind of physics and stuff, but there's other people who dispute that he never actually went to college. But he talks about, other, like, basically what he's done is he's taken other people's studies and tried to put them into action. So I forget the guy's name. I want to say, the heck his name? He mentions it a lot, like something White was the last name, and who came up with all these things for the periodic table and how it should be based on vibration and frequency, not weight and size, because our periodic table is now organized by what's the lightest weight to the heaviest weight. But he's saying that there's certain vibrational frequencies that these things give off, And so they pair better based upon those frequencies. And so he created a different way to, visualize the periodic table so you can see which one has different frequencies and why they would pair together. But it's all from somebody else who came up with it, 50 years ago, maybe 100 years ago. And he's just kind of saying, I remade it and made it look like this because I understand it. And now this is how I use it.
Wow. So he's just some kind of weird genius.
Yeah. But I'm not like, I don't know. He's either completely insane or he's the smartest person on the earth. I don't know. One of the two.
Sometimes those don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Well, he's making a lot of really aggressive claims. And if the claims aren't true, then he's crazy.
Yeah, he's probably just insane.
So the first one that was like in the first 10 minutes of the episode, he said that he was talking about how beryllium reacts with water. And I was like, what the heck is beryllium and why would it react with water? And he was so like sure in what he was saying. Beryllium will violently take hydrogen away from oxygen. And so I like went and Googled like, that's probably fun to watch. What happens when you put beryllium in water? And it's like a like a lot of scientists have done this study. They put beryllium in water and nothing happens. Like literally nothing. It just sits there. But you put other chemicals in there. Sometimes it starts flames. Sometimes it bubbles. Sometimes it just sparks into energy. But beryllium does absolutely nothing. And he said specifically on the podcast, when you put beryllium or the sound waves of beryllium with water, it will take hydrogen outside of the oxygen. And so I'm just kind of sitting there like, how is he making this claim? And then people have just straight up put beryllium in water and nothing happens.
Yeah. Huh. Maybe they're putting it in the wrong state.
Right. And that's kind of like, obviously I don't know anything about this stuff, but he made it seem like you have beryllium and water in the same room and beryllium and hydrogen will go together and oxygen will just be released.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on there that he kind of talks about, and it's all very interesting and very thought provoking. But it's the fact that he's not like an accredited scientist makes you think like, okay, how real is this stuff?
Yeah. Did you watch Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix?
No, what's that?
That basically this guy, he's a journalist, claims that humans aren't only 20,000 years old or 30,000 years old, like archaeologists have been saying for decades. That like there's so much evidence that like a very advanced human species existed that was technologically advanced just in a different way than us. We chose technology like electronics and like they use something else. But like how the pyramids are built, so, he's kind of saying that that's all wrong, what we know in history books and, or that there's at least a possibility that of this. So he was on Rogan multiple times. And then finally, like 2 weeks ago, an episode came out where that guy came on again and debated with an archaeologist. And I've listened to it. I've watched Ancient Apocalypse. I listened to the podcast twice, and I still don't know like what I think.
I think archaeology it's so difficult to find out what happened in our history based on what's in the dirt.
Yeah.
And like I've said this before, is like the only thing that I'm sure of is that we don't know shit. Like we don't know anything. The fact that we think we know things is cool, but we could disprove it anytime. And I think the history of the human is definitely one of those things. Like evolution still in big debate. Did we evolve or were we just put here as humans? And I think I remember there was one that's like, you think about the timeline of the Egyptian pyramids, and then if you think about the Mexican pyramids, the Mayan pyramids, it's very like happened very different times, but they kind of came to the same result. Why the heck did they come to the same result to build these enormous pyramids when they didn't talk to each other? It's not like anybody crossed the Pacific Ocean, in 200 BC. Like it didn't happen. And you don't just build these just because you think they're nice tombs. Like there's definitely a reason for this.
Mm-hmm.
that book I read that was the Raw Contact was about. It was all about channeling energy from other parts of the universe, and so they said these were built to do that. So they would go in there and have these. They would have these channeling experiences and have people come through, and they would be able to communicate with beings in other dimensions because of the way the pyramids were built, and that's what they think they were for. And like you were saying, it's not like we think of everything very mechanically, like put oil and fire, you get energy, but this is very like wavelength energy, the energy from person to person, the energy that a human body gives off, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if you kind of can hone that in and target it at something, you can communicate with people from other dimensions. And that's what they think the pyramids were for. It sounds like that's pretty similar to what this guy was saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Because a lot of those ancient, whatever, the pyramids or like different, I don't know what to call it, not a church, but like a building for something. Like a lot of them were facing certain stars, so he thinks, he's hypothesizing that they knew a lot more about the universe than we did, than we think they did. And yeah, that they had influence from someone with a lot of more advanced technology than we think they did. And
Yeah,
that,
I don't think we're any smarter than we were 2,000 years ago. I think
yeah,
we know different stuff, and
yeah.
we don't really know. Like, I don't. No one knows why the heck humans are here, and maybe they knew 3,000 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
we just don't know now.
Right. Yeah. I recently saw something interesting that like there are some cave paintings that were found in like Florida. The natives had drawn dinosaurs like accurately, but dinosaurs weren't even discovered. Bones weren't even discovered until the 1800s. So like these cave paintings predate that.
Hmm.
Isn't that crazy?
That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's whole uh hypothesis is built on too that we know that at the end of the ice age 10,000 years ago that um the ice caps on the North Pole melted and oceans rose by 200 feet. So there were all kinds of lands that were just flooded, and that's why we have the Noah flood story. There's Native Americans talk about a great flood. People over in Islamic Arabic countries had a flood too, that they talk about in their history, in their fables or whatever, their stories. But it's kind of crazy if you look at the map of what was above ground and then got sank. Like a lot of stuff starts to make sense of, okay, Native Americans did not cross the Bering, or not the Bering Strait, the ice road, trucker road from Russia to Alaska, right? Like back then, there was a huge land connection that was always exposed. Or places like Malta and Sicily, they were all attached to the mainland, like up by Italy, right? So it makes sense that people would have been living there. They didn't come by ship 4,000 years ago. They had been there for tens of thousands of years. And when the flood happened, they were on high ground and they lived. That's kind of his point. But archaeologists say, oh, nobody inhabited Malta until like 3,000 years ago. Well, that's just probably not true, right? There had to have been some survivors on high ground.
Huh.
So that's all interesting. To hear the archaeologists say why that's probably not true is interesting. But yeah, it's
Sure.
worth it.
AI will figure it out in like 10 years. So we'll be good.
Yeah, and the technology we have now for finding artifacts and finding information is pretty like LiDAR, where they can scan underground and like find stuff. That's pretty nuts. They don't even have to dig.
That's pretty cool. Didn't know about that one.
No. Well, buddy,
All right.
I don't want to go over your time here.
Yeah, I think this is it.
could talk about this stuff for ages. I love conspiracy theories, dude. I just love it when people are wrong. All right, man. Well, don't have too many Coors Lights this weekend with your New Jersey.
No promises.
None taken.
All right. Love you, Mom.
Love you, Miss T.
Bye.
Later, dude.